Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the cost of unlocking dumper's remorse. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing the cost of unlocking dumper's remorse. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you need your ex to feel dumper's remorse after the breakup. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 ways it will cost a dumpee to unlock this remorse in your ex's mind. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is time. So as a dumpee, probably the last thing you want to hear me say is that this is probably going to be a long process, but that's the reality. I mean, would you rather me lie to you? We need to understand the facts. And from my research, the average amount of time that a dumper will reach out to a dumpee and hence feel somewhat regret or remorse for the breakup is around the 6 to 12 month mark. That's a good chunk of time, and that is just the average. Yes, that means some people might receive contact earlier, but there will be others of you who don't receive any contact until more than a year post breakup. In fact, some of you, sadly, will never hear from your ex again. That's the reality. Now, luckily, most of you will. Most of you will hear from your ex with dumper again. But as I've said, it is likely to be a long time into the future. And when we're speaking about the cost of unlocking dumper's remorse, this is one of the main elements. It's time. I mean, what price do you put on time? We have a finite amount of time. It's the only commodity that we can't buy more of, so to speak. So it is a heavy price to pay for a dumpee. It's not something that you're going to be thinking, yeah, well, that's fine. It doesn't matter if it's 1-2 years down the line, that's absolutely cool. No, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a struggle. Most of you, hopefully, will hear from your ex sooner than a year. Hopefully, it will be sooner than 6 months. But as I've said, if we look at the average amount of time you are likely to have to go through before hearing from your ex, before they go through a level of dumper's remorse, well, it's going to be probably half a year or so. So this means that you need to be focusing your life on things other than your ex. If you're sitting at home, clock watching, thinking, well, I've heard about this no contact rule. If I just implement that and sit around for a few days, they'll get back to me. No, even if you implement my version of a no contact rule, this is going to be a grind. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a period of your life that you probably look back upon and say, that was difficult. Especially in those early days and weeks, if not months, you are going to find it hard to focus your mind on you rather than them. You're going to find it hard to focus your time on other activities rather than thinking of your ex. If you want to get your ex back, and if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that you do, you need to be considering what are the milestones ahead of you. You have to be seeing what is ahead of you rather than walking forward in the dark, not knowing what is coming. And I'm here to tell you, but it is likely to be a good chunk of time into the future before you reconnect. So if you have that in your mind, then you can navigate this, hopefully, a little easier. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but a little easier by focusing yourself on other things. Whether you spend more time with your friends, which is something I definitely suggest you do, whether you focus on joining new classes, groups and clubs, which is again something that I suggest you do, or if you find other ways to occupy your mindset and your time, if you are doing that, it is much better than sitting at home, scrolling social media, checking what you think your ex is doing. And I say what you think they're doing, because just because you see it online, it doesn't mean it's real. It doesn't mean it's accurate. If you can spend your time doing positive things rather than spending your time looking at what your ex is doing, thinking about your ex, or maybe worse, contacting them, texting them, calling them, waiting outside where they work, trying to grab a word. That is not a good use of your time. So yes, it's probably going to be much further into the future. Yes, it's probably going to feel that you can't get the most out of this time because you want to be with them rather than alone. Well, I would disagree and say you can make the most of your time. You can spend time with other people, you can make new connections, you can go through self-improvement, you can make time work for you rather than, I would suggest, wasting it chasing your ex with the likelihood of getting them back in this way very, very slim. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is energy. So today we're speaking about the cost of unlocking dumper's remorse. And energy is something that it is going to cost you. Right now, if you're going through the grind, if you're a stage 1 dumpee, you might struggle to get out of bed each day. You might struggle to go to work. You might struggle to be productive. You are going to have to dig deep and find that energy really deep inside of you to live your life in the way that I'm describing. It's all right me saying in point number 1, well, you need to be spending time with friends, maybe joining new classes, groups and clubs, maybe doing this, maybe doing that, but you need the energy to do it. If you don't have the motivation, if you don't have the desire, if you don't have the get up and go, if you wake up each day and think, well, my ex isn't here, so I can't be bothered, well, you're not going to be able to do the things that I'm suggesting you need to do. And that is why this is another cost of unlocking dumper's remorse. You can't unlock dumper's remorse without time ticking by. That was point number 1. Point number 2 is you won't be able to unlock dumper's remorse unless you spend energy. Energy to get out of bed. Energy to live your life the right way. Energy to focus on you and not them. Because if you're wasting all of your energy, quote unquote, chasing your ex, that is not just a bad use of time, it's a really bad use of your energy. Because you're probably going to be feeling mentally, if not physically exhausted from contacting your ex, plotting, planning a way to grab a word with your ex. It is not likely to help you. If and when somebody ends a relationship, they've checked out. And when somebody is checked out, they can't be persuaded. They can't be begged. They can't be pleaded. They can't be reasoned with. Once they've gone, they've gone. They can only come back if they decide they want to. They can't be persuaded. So I would not waste your energy on trying to find a way to persuade them. Even if you feel you've made some progress in doing just that, the likelihood is they don't really want to go along with what you're saying, but they're doing so because they feel awkward, they feel concerned about you or them, they just feel there isn't a way out, so they just say yes. But deep down in their mind, they've still checked out. Deep down in their mind, the loss of romantic emotional attraction is real, it's still there. And if you're frustrating them, it's not going to grow. If anything, it's going to plummet even further. So don't waste your energy doing this. Instead, spend your energy on you. I said in point number 1 about joining new classes, groups and clubs. This is because it's a great way to hit 2 things you really need to. First of which is making new connections. Whether these are friends or potential new romantic options, I know you don't really want that right now, but still, these are things which are going to help you. Even if you don't want to get a new girlfriend or a new boyfriend, going on dates is a great way to hone your skills and make sure your perishable skills are being practiced. Things such as communicating, flirting even, general dating skills are perishable skills. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't practice, you won't get better. Imagine you don't date anybody for 9 months and when your ex contacts you. Are you really going to be in the best frame of mind to go and date them again? I would suggest you won't be. So whether you want to get a new relationship, I would suggest making new connections, considering going on dates is a great thing to do. But also, making new platonic friendships can be a great way to broaden your horizons, to live your life in a way where you're focusing on new things other than your ex. The other benefit, of course, of joining new classes, groups and clubs is improving your skill set. Whether this is educationally, whether this is in a creative sense, whatever it may be, if you are improving yourself, you're going to be a better person today than you were yesterday, and a better person tomorrow than you are currently today, becoming a version 2.0 of yourself. That's going to be great for you, with or without your ex. Remember, we can't guarantee your ex will ever want to reconnect with you. That is an unfortunate fact. But whether they do or whether they don't, you need to be a better person than they remember. And if sadly they don't come back, being a better person will enable you to find a new connection even better than your dumper. So that is why you need to find that energy. And I try to provide you that support through motivational encouragement. That is the life coaching side of what I try to do. This isn't just about strategies of how to get your ex back, strategies of what to say if your ex texts you. Now, this is about being motivated to live your life the right way, being motivated to improve your perishable skills, be motivated to get out of bed, go to work, and make sure you don't get fired because you haven't turned up, because that won't make your life any better, would it? You know, if you lose your job and all of a sudden you can't afford to pay your rent, and then your ex contacts you 6 months down the line and you're living back with your parents because you no longer have a job, do you really think that is going to help you? No, it's not. So you need to live your life in a way where you can get up in the morning, you can go to work, you can focus on doing what is right for you, improving yourself every single day. And if you can do that, then this is going to be a worthwhile cost of trying to develop dumpers' remorse. They're not going to feel remorseful about ending your relationship if they see from afar or up close, if they do contact you, that your life has sadly fallen apart further. If they end a relationship and then contact you later down the line and you seem in a worse position than they remember when they dumped you, that is not going to make their remorse grow. That is not going to make them feel regret for what they've done. Instead, they're going to think, okay, I felt a bit remorseful, I've reached out, but no, I've realised I made the right decision. So if you want to unlock dumper's remorse in your ex's mind, you are going to need to dig deep and you are going to need to spend energy. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is sparkle. So earlier on today, I was telling you my advice and suggestions about if your ex was to reach out to you and found out that you had fallen further than they remembered, then unfortunately this wouldn't help. And my advice would be to not let that happen. My advice would be to improve rather than decline. And this is where point number 3 really fits into that. If and when your ex starts to feel a level of regret, a level of remorse, maybe just a little bit of intrigue, they will likely reach out to you. At that stage, they need to see you as a better person than they remember rather than a lesser version than they dumped, as mentioned earlier. And the sparkle is where you can really pull them in further than they're already at. Remember, they're feeling a level of intrigue because that is why they've reached out to you. They're feeling a level of remorse because else, why would a dumper reach out to their dumpee for an unnecessary reason? They wouldn't. So they are already on the right line to wanting to reconnect, but you will need the sparkle to bring them back into your life. You need to wow them. So if and when they reach out to you, instead of thinking, oh gosh, my dumpee has fallen even further, we need them to think, wow, I can't believe the changes they've made. Now, this doesn't have to be ridiculously impossible changes. You don't have to go from being somebody who earned the minimum wage to now being a millionaire. But what you do need to do is show improvements in whichever way that might be. Perhaps you were not the healthiest person. Maybe you acknowledge you could be a healthier weight. Maybe you acknowledge you could remove bad substances from your life. Well, these are things you could be working on now. You could be using the time that it's going to cost you from point number 1, and you could be using the energy that I was speaking about in point number 2, and you could combine those things, using the energy, using the time you have, to improve your health and fitness. You can make yourself look physically better, but also healthier, and therefore more physically attractive. If and when your ex-dumper sees you again, that would be their wow moment. Oh gosh, I was already missing my dumpee to a degree. Now I see them, they look really, really attractive. That could be the wow moment. Now, as I said a moment ago, you don't have to go from minimum wage to millionaire, but you could go from minimum wage to earning more than minimum wage. It's not all about money, it's about ambition, showcasing you wanting to live your life in an improved way, making sure that next year is going to be better than this year. So whether that means getting further education, whether that means just trying to move up the job ladder, maybe you want to start your own business. Whatever you do, if you're living your life in a way where there are improvements, where you're not being complacent, where you're someone that somebody else will think, actually, I want to spend time with that person because they give me that excited feeling. Those are the things that you can do. And I've only mentioned a couple there, health and fitness and improving your job prospects. But of course, there are an unlimited amount of ways that you can show your sparkle. Maybe it's through creativity. Maybe you've always enjoyed listening to guitar music, but you couldn't play the guitar. You like rock music, but you can't play the guitar. Well, now you have the time. Now you can use your energy. Now you could learn how to play a guitar. That could be the way that you wow your ex. These are the things that you need to do if you want to unlock dumper's remorse. These are the costs, whether it's the time it's going to take, the energy you will need to spend, or the sparkle that you need to showcase.